welcome back, everybody. If you were not with us for kind of our first interview session, I'm Gary Williams. Thrilled to be here for countless reasons, including the conversation I'm getting ready to have with three people who collectively have probably spent, I don't know, their combined years of age somewhere around, I don't know, 75-ish. They probably collectively spent 100 years here. Now, that is an algorithm that probably makes no sense, but based on what I know about the way that they grew up here, they spent every waking moment at Austin Country Club. Matthew Perrine, Bentley Cotton, Seth Stewart, products of Austin Country Club. Good to see all three of you.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Thanks for being here. Now, there's a lot of other things going on with this because, Seth, you married into the club, literally. And we will get to that. But Bentley, let me start with you. Do you remember your first, like the first time you hit a golf ball at Austin Country Club? Do you remember that?
No, I do not, actually. But I do have a memory of being out here with my grandparents. I was probably around 6. I really wasn't too interested in golf at that time. I was more interested in filling divots. So I was just, my brother, my dad, my grandfather, we were all out here. I think it was on 17, and I just wanted to fill divots.
Wow.
But I don't remember the first time I hit golf balls.
Okay. Matthew, I got a little intel about you from your mom.
No doubt.
And now apparently you begged out of a trip to Disney World just to stay here. You're like, I don't want to go to Disney World. I want to be here. And here was literally here. Why did you love this place so much, like immediately?
I think just ever from my first time, just being up on the driving range, just kind of felt like home to me. It was a place I could just go and beat balls and, you know, have some time to myself. And it just was kind of, it was my Disneyland. You know, I didn't need to go, I didn't know all the characters or the rides or anything like that. I just needed just a place to hit golf balls.
Seth, you were similar, right? I mean, this place came into your life at a very young age.
Yeah.
And you were here a lot as a little boy, were you not?
No, I think this was kind of where I was babysat. Parents would say, hey, Seth, you're going to hang out all day at the club. Just figure it out, you know, which I'm sure was a lot of fun for me. I mean, I think it's funny. My mom was kind of telling me when I was, I guess, 2.5, we lived right across from 14T. And so she said that I'd always look out at that tee and say, hey, I want to go whack a ball, you know? So I think that was kind of the first kind of get into it. But yeah, the amount of hours I've spent out here, it's a lot.
A lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. And I've got to be careful with this because the framing is kind of fragile. But this is you.
Yeah.
With Harvey Pinnock.
Yeah. That's
this
a special
is
moment.
as sweet and as tender a photograph as you will ever see of somebody who he probably doesn't know it at the time is going to make golf a big part of his life.
Yeah.
With someone who was a beacon of light in this game. Do you have any recollection? I don't mean of this photo, but of him?
I do a little bit. I mean, I think the memories and hearing it from my parents and the people around me, just how special that moment was. I mean, we lived, you know, I guess walking distance from his house. And so he could easily have just cruised by our house and gone to the club, but he took the time to stop, let me, you know, jump on his golf cart. I think I was 3 years old at that point. And so thinking back on it, it's such a cool memory and moment that I was able to have, you know.
Bentley, you know, you go from wanting to just fill divots to then starting to play golf and getting better. How much did this environment make you a better player?
A lot. Like I think Matthew said, and Seth, this became almost like a second home to me. I got dropped off after school and spent countless hours out here. And I got to practice and play games with people like Matthew and my brother and people my age. And it was a blast. Everybody pushed me. And I would say every single one of us we were good golfers. So we all pushed each other, and that was really influential on me to become, you know, who I am today and the golfer I am today.
Matthew, I've got your first driver here. This is actually his first driver. You have one small little dummy mark up here.
It was not me. That was definitely Seth. I don't know.
How
Somebody hit
many
that.
golf balls do you think you hit with that driver? You
A
probably aged out of
lot.
it pretty quickly.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, that's a pretty stout shaft at
I remember
about 2 feet long.
Matthew had the brand new nice Titleist clubs that you'd get cut down. You always had the nicest clubs.
Is that true?
When I got a little older, they didn't help much, but
Now, I also have your first iron, which has Harvey's name on it. And you obviously remember this too, don't you?
oh yeah, I remember going and getting these. We went to the I went with Anne Marie to the original Golfsmith headquarters on I-35, and well, I don't know, went somewhere and hit balls and what would have been, I guess, an original launch monitor, and came out with these bad boys, a Harvey Pinnock Fire Steel. Good clubs.
Yes. You mentioned Anne Marie, and everybody who's in this room obviously knows somebody who's been the driving force from the instructional standpoint at Austin Country Club for a quarter century. When you look up here, I know that this is a great source of pride, not because they became excellent players, but great people. So let me start with Seth. What was your first impression? Do you remember of this little one trying to play golf?
no.
We don't have enough time to go over these stories, but is this on?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. So I started in 1999, and actually Seth was one of the first juniors that I was able to, start teaching. It was actually him and Trent Wilson. And when I met Seth, I would say so much fun. He had a lot of personality, a lot of energy, which I suffer from that same thing. So I felt like we hit it off really well. I enjoyed spending a lot of time with Seth. So I would say just he just had a big heart and cared about everyone else around him. And I felt like this is a guy I want on my team to start building the junior program at Austin Country Club.
That's great. You said to me about Bentley, you said, oh God, she's a pistol. Why don't you elaborate on that? What about her personality, her style, her development as a golfer?
Again, a lot of energy. I feel like that a lot of times golf, people think when you start playing golf, it's kind of a boring sport and you're not going to really have fun with it. But again, listen to even Catherine talk about her dad, that he loved people and he loved golf. And I think that's the same thing with Bentley. She loves being around people. She's not a loner by any chance. So I think the thing that I loved about her is I was actually in the Performance Center, and her grandfather I've known, for a very long time, being a long time member. Scott, I want to see my grandkids get up here and become members. So between Phil and myself, we went to work on Jimbo, her dad. And the next thing you know, they were thinking about becoming members. So he sent the kids up to take a lesson from me to see how they would like it. And she walks in and, she's ready to go. And she's like, I don't know if I want to take lessons from you, but, maybe. And so I said, hey, that's up to you, whatever you want to do. And then we just started hitting it off. And then after that moment, I've been teaching her ever since and enjoy every minute of it. So again.
That's great. And then how about a little capsule on little Matthew with that driver to grown-up Matthew making a run in a U.S. Amateur?
Well, again, Matthew was very instrumental in helping getting kids a little bit more involved here, and his presence at the club. In fact, he thought he was Harvey Pinnock. A lot of times he said, "Are you sure I didn't come back as Harvey Pinnock?" He really fell in love with the club and the people. The thing that I first met Matthew, his mom had started taking lessons, and she was on a driving range, and I walked over to meet him for the first time. And I said, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "Well, I'm homesick from school." And I said, "Oh, okay." And he had some Snoopy clubs. And then from then on, he became really my right hand out here. He helped us really get manners and how kids can behave, how they can dress. And he did so great with the adults. He was just such an old soul. And he just loved this game. And a lot of people fell in love with Matthew and what he was about. And then he really helped us grow this program. And then hanging out with Seth and older kids, he didn't mind. He enjoyed that.
You mentioned about the way he dressed. Now, none of us can advance in golf without the support of our parents, dropping us off every single day at the club, picking us up at dark. but your mother went above and beyond. She was buying clothes that were not available at the shop, that were stylish, and getting them embroidered with the club logo, independent of the club, just so you would look the way you looked. Were you even aware of that?
No, but that's some serious commitment right there. Might be some trademark issues as well.
Yeah, truly. Apparently, the club was totally on board with that, and then eventually they started to carve out a little budget for junior swag. Let's get back to this environment. When did you realize, because when you're good at things, you're usually good at a lot of things. When did you know that it was time to narrow your focus and start paying more attention to golf and less on other things?
Well, I owe a lot of it to my brother because everything that he did, I wanted to do. And when he decided to really go to golf, I was in, I think, 6th grade. I still played basketball at the time, which was golf and basketball. And after 6th grade, I fully committed to golf. And it was golf 24/7 all the time, playing tournaments, traveling around the country, spending so much time up here. I mean, every ACC had everything other than a bed. If it had a bed, I think a lot of us would have spent the night out here. But it was mostly 7th grade. I started to just focus 100% on golf.
Seth, for you, it was not just golf. Suddenly you become smitten to the daughter of the head golf professional. Did that feel like a good idea?
Honestly, at that age, I'm not thinking it like that. I think the funny thing is it's the fact that, I don't know how Dale gave me his blessing. He knew me when I was the crazy child, 4 or 5 years old, 10 years old, running all over the place. It's funny that, we really didn't meet until we were 14, 15 years old. But no, I would say just I wasn't really thinking it that way. I love Dale though, and it just worked out that he would bring his daughter to the course every once in a while. So
So when you start going out with the golf pro's daughter, was that, I mean, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think, well, first of all, I like to bring Ann in here because she was kind of a help with the matchmaking. And so
you facilitated
if he
all
had a
this?
problem, at least I could point back and say, hey, it was Ann.
Right.
She put us together. It's like, I'm out of it.
Matthew, as far as being around other kids who are not only good players and you feed off of each other, it's got to be fun. I can just tell you, I was lucky, like you guys were, to grow up at a place that for whatever reason, kids are dopey. We're not that aware, but I knew that it was special. You knew it was special being here, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I mean, like Bentley said, my mom would pick me up from elementary school across the street, directly across 360. It's 2 miles away, and I would change in the car so I didn't waste any time, and then get picked up at dark. But we were able to come out here, and the way it was just this constant flow of golfers that we grew up playing with, whether it was Seth that was older than me, and then some guys that were a little bit younger, and then Bentley. Like, it was constantly just great camaraderie and great people. And so there was just a constant, there was always people to hang out with and practice with and just grow up around. It was really special.
Since the statute of limitations is over on silly behavior by juniors at the club, what was the most regrettable thing you ever did on this property, Seth? Did you do anything really stupid?
Oh, I mean, there's probably 100 things, at least. I mean, I spent 34 years out here, right?
Yeah. Who had the propensity to run up the mom and dad's monthly bill with just countless charges?
Yeah. Oh, the amount of Gatorades and we'd have like 3 or 4 lunches during the day. I mean, when you spend 8 to 10 hours up there, you're going to spend some money,
yeah,
right?
Of course, of course.
Can't avoid it.
I want to ask you look, we just had Harvey's daughter up here, and his nephew as well, and the Pennick name has been associated with this club for virtually the entire history of the club, almost, with Harvey becoming the head pro when he was 19 years old. When you see those statues, like your awareness of his impact on the industry of golf, and obviously specifically here, were you 12? Were you curious when you when you started to understand who he was?
I think it became apparent very early on. I mean, a lot of credit to Anne Marie on that. Like, we'd have the summer golf camps, and that was probably some of my first memories of really being up here that first summer. And she would show you this stuff, the memorabilia, and you'd go through things in a little red book, and so you got a pretty good sense of there's something pretty special about this, and then the moment you're watching the Masters, and you get the Ben Crenshaw and Harvey Pinnock story, and it's like, oh, okay, and it just you really do realize how special like of an opportunity it is to be in that environment.
I spent some time with John Fields earlier today and talking about the connection with the university. And obviously, Mr. Pennock was the golf coach there for a long time. Matthew just referenced Ben Crenshaw. Ben and Tom are going to come up here and speak. Bentley, the awareness of people of that stature, Hall of Fame individuals who have a history not only with the university that you attended and played for, how inspiring is that?
Very. You look back at all the alums at the University of Texas on the golf side, and just the legacy just continues. You can just go down the list. But it's graduating from the University of Texas and going to the University of Texas. It was an honor because of the list of the legacy of all the people that attended.
Seth, how about just memories of here and how cherished they are, I'm sure, for you? You met your wife here. The number of friends that you have here that 50 years from now, you can tell stories about when you were hitting balls, just how important your time here was growing up.
No, I would laugh. I don't know where I would be without the club. When, like you said, when you think about it, I've found golf here. Was able to play college golf because of this place and because of Anne's teaching. I met my wife here, and it's funny, even after I decided, hey, golf is not going to be something I want to do after college, and I want to get a real job. And talking to a few different people, one of the gentlemen that I had played golf with, Tom Forbes, told me to, hey, check out this place, this company. And I've been working at that company since I got out of college, and so just the opportunities that ACC has provided me, it's been incredible,
Did all three of you work at any of the World Golf Championships that were here? Did you do? You didn't.
I was already in school.
You
So
were.
I attended it and had fun at most of them. I don't know if that's called
Bentley,
working.
no work.
I did not know.
Did not. But
Yeah.
were you guys here for some of
Absolutely.
them? Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
As somebody who grew up here, what was it like to have the best players in the world here? And I was talking earlier with Bobby about how eclectic the winners are. Style didn't reward any particular style. Didn't discriminate against anybody. What was it like as somebody who grew up here to then have the best players in the world come in here on an every year basis?
I mean, it was a really special and cool experience. I mean, we always used to joke, not knowing any different back in the day, like, oh, we should have a U.S. Open out here, and then we got something not better, but different and cooler, and to get to see the best players in the world compete and play the same course that you do, and struggle on holes that you used to struggle on. You're like, I know what to do there. It's a really special experience. And when being a small field, you got to see it firsthand and be right up there, which was amazing.
Anne-Marie, I want you to let their greatest strength as a junior. Let's start with Seth. What was his greatest strength?
I would say he was a great teammate. And anyone around him or came around was always his friend. He sometimes would come to me, and even if someone maybe didn't invite him to go play or they felt like they were not paying attention to him, it was really important to know why. Emery, why didn't they invite me? And so there were times there wasn't a lot, but sometimes that happens. You have a foursome, and it was always really important to him to make sure that it wasn't just him that was taken care of, but the people around him. And I was always really impressed with that and how he treats others. So, his greatest strength. And so when he was on the golf course, he would make a lot of friends, even in competitive. There's not a person seems like I don't meet at the club that doesn't know Seth Stewart. So I think that his greatest strength is he's just really kind.
Well, to be called a great teammate, no matter what you do, is one of the most honorable things you could say about anybody. How about Bentley? What was her greatest strength? Is her greatest strength?
Again, I think the thing that you'll find in these kids is a lot of times when you interview them, you're talking more about their golf game and how did they win a tournament. But when you know them more up close and personal, Bentley's greatest strength again is she really cares about other people and she wants to make sure that everyone around her is okay. I don't think there's been a day that I ever hung up a phone call from Bentley, a text, or her say goodbye that she has to hug me and say, "I love you, Ann." And that means a lot. And then one day I was at the grocery store and I pulled my credit card out and she got in my wallet and put a little thing on the back and said, "I love you, Ann." So Bentley is not afraid to let people know she loves them. And she comes from, a family that, surrounds themselves with good people. And Bentley, along the way, just even talking about the Dell match play, she became really good friends with Rom's wife at the airport, and actually got invited to their wedding. So if that tells you anything about Bentley, and she's not afraid to communicate, and she's not afraid to talk to you. So.
What does not afraid to communicate mean? She's righteous? I mean, I'm curious what that.
I think that a lot of times, maybe when she was younger, I'd go, "Oh, Bentley," and she'd find a little bit more of a filter. But then as time went on, that filter really had more of a shining light to it. And I think a lot of times when she's communicating, she's not afraid to have a conversations. Where some kids are nervous, they're shy. She'd be right there ready to talk to them, ask them questions. She's not afraid to get to know you.
And then finally, Matthew, the privately embroidered young Matthew. What was his greatest strength?
The thing that about Matthew is, again, very kind. Matthew's has a very warm personality. He could get along with even the adults. I think he was actually the favorite junior of all the adults. He would go up and make sure that he, would talk to them, shake their hand. He was, again, he loved this place. And some people might say that he might have had a feeling like he walked around and owned it, but he didn't. He walked around like, "I want to make this place a better place." And so his strength is you want to enjoy this game as much as I do and as much as I love it. So he would share, how much he did love this place.
That's great. All right, last thing for all of you. The best shot you've ever struck on this property, Seth?
It was actually, I guess it was last year.
Really?
So on 15, it was during our little one-day member guest, and it was about a 200-yard 7-iron albatross. Landed right in the middle of the green, rolled out, watched it go in. We just went crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
You
Impressive.
need to add something to that story about a bet that you almost didn't place. Skins game.
I almost did not go into the Skins game, but Anne Marie kind of helped sneak me in. She covered my Skins bet.
I had to go get $50 from Dale.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was Dale. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody helped me.
That two definitely stood up that day. Bentley, how about you? The best shot you've struck here?
It was on 4 and 5. I was with Ann. We were working on wedges. Drop a ball on 4, hole it. Ann's like, "Let's go to the next hole." Drop a ball on 5, hole it. Back-to-back wedge shots. She's like, "I think we can end our practice session for the day."
You're like, "You're good to go."
Matthew, how about you?
A little bit different. I'd say it was probably my 10th shot on 18 in the club championship when I was 14 years old. Hit the drive, got stuck on the downslope in the rough with the canyon there, and I got stubborn and just kept trying to hit it over the canyon and kept getting caught up and hitting in the middle of it. So I just kept dropping, taking stroke over there, and plopped like 3 in there. So it was probably like my 8th shot, hit on the green, 3-putted for my 11, shot 82. Walked off, but that last one, I remember Dale came up because he came up to like make sure I was doing okay. And he's like, I'm like, "I'm on the green now." So
It's a good way to end it. I think everybody in this room knows that the future of any club becomes its presence or its present very quickly. Time goes by. But kids who grow up at the club, and talking to Dale earlier today, that's it. Watching kids grow up and become adults and become contributors to the culture of the club that gave them so many great memories is why great clubs sustain themselves. You are three great examples of that. Thank you for sharing some memories, and thank you for being here. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Junior golf is really started here with Ben and Tom, and before that, years ago. I don't know if you've ever been in the Ann's office. There's 40+ banners to this college. People that she helped. And all of them, 90 members of this fund of junior golf get scholarships. That says something about ACC and the junior golf.
No question. Thank you for sharing that. We're going to take a little break, and Tom and Ben will be with us here in just a little bit. Thank you.